welcome to the Historic Area Commission, Thursday, April 14th at 2022. I'm just going to do a roll call of the commissioners in attendance. So Laura Fontana.
Justin Day.
Matthew Lovely.
Diana Hamlin. Thank you. So we do have a quorum to conduct business. So the first order of business is to approve the minutes from March 10th. So I do have a correction. So I'm going to make a motion to approve.
I second.
And then one correction, and this is minor and it doesn't impact anything. Patty, but we didn't. Oh, okay, you fixed it. It used to say 7:56, so now I saw it says 6:56 now. Okay.
Thank you, Marita. Go ahead.
Yeah, where it says, Mr. Lovely asked if the historical society would be involved, actually. Could we change that to should?
Would you, what page are you on?
I'm sorry, page 2 of the, under old business. It's more of a matter of whether they can benefit from it
Should.
as well, not would as in, oh, no, we don't want them. So, no, it's just more of a
Yep.
should instead of would. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, so can we have a motion to approve with the amendment?
I second. Or
You'll make the motion.
motion to approve as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, so until 8 o'clock this morning, we had one new application. So Jeff will talk to us about the other one. So we do have an application for 37 West 3rd for a single family home. I think they've done some consultations already with Layla, but they've also come with some drawings to get some input from the commissioner. So who is representing, is it Bill Garrity? Is that yourself? How are you? Hi, Drayton, how are you? Thanks for coming. So, well, congratulations on your purchase and thanks for all the information that you supplied thus far. So I think what we're going to do is, so I had a few questions, but we always just ask the applicant, though we have the information, just to give us an overview of the project, if you wouldn't mind.
I will do that. I also want to add that we have our architect who is from Wilmington and until recently was in Wilmington, but recently her husband was transferred to Dallas. So though she still practices here and her family is here, mother and daughter, mother and
Granddaughter.
granddaughter.
Grandchildren.
She's available to join us.
Okay. Well, we appreciate that.
I don't need to bring her to the preliminary.
Right.
presentation. When the time comes.
Okay, we appreciate that. Thank you.
My wife and I don't want to bore you to death, but we were enchanted by this city of Newcastle on our first visit. And we saw the lot for sale and we're somewhat impressed. And decided to inquire about it and made a deal with Cochran family. We really didn't know anything about the procedures for building a house.
Sure.
However, I myself am a retired building inspector with over 20 years of experience in planning and zoning and architectural review boards and clerk plans and all. So I hope that we're as prepared as we can be under the circumstances. We've had several conversations with Jeff and staff and are working with various engineers and our architect to come up with a plan that suits our needs and also fits in with this charming city. So our architect who is very familiar with the city and with the architecture, though I think this is probably her first project of any both in the city. and has an allegiance to the classical styles, came up with this with her own conversations that did not include us with Layla, the architect. And so this is our hopes and wishes for the new residents on the property.
Well, I think your comment about coming and finding it enchanting and being impulsive is probably resonates with many of us in the room, so we can appreciate that comment. And in understanding, we're very familiar with where that property is because we were just, we did the parking lot several years ago, so. So in looking at the project, I know Layla, had worked with your architect. I think there was one or two design elements, I think that Layla just wanted to bring overall to our attention, right? And make some comments about it. And then we can ask some additional questions. And I have some additional questions as well. So Layla, do you just want to kind of give the overview of the project?
Yeah, and I think, yes, it was a pleasure talking to Cynthia. We had a long session about both the process and the purpose. I mean, pretty much, stylistically, it fits with the parameters of what's typical around Newcastle. I think the material, this is considered new construction, so there's some more flexibility on the materials and the use of alternate materials on the side. So just to talk about like big picture, right?
Yep.
But coming on the front, with brick, which kind of works well. Although obviously my preference is always for wood, but the fact that they're proposing to use alternate materials on the side, which is hardy plank in this case. And away from that, it meets the guidelines and the standards. So from that perspective, I think everything is clear and standard. I think one of the questions that we had to get into the detail that was asked about, like, and do you happen to know what plans we have for the windows?
We're going to be using an Anderson window. That the architect is thinking that it's a wood window.
So it is a wood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause so
Air conditioner.
So I think the wood window, so from that perspective, and I think stylistically, the door, the fact that we have stairs, I think all of the stylistic elements are there. I think the one element that potentially I would like to work with your architect perhaps to adjust a little bit, it's more the scale and the massing, because that's kind of the bigger picture. And adjacent are very small scale structures. They're more modest, but that's normal because that was kind of how the street went and how it evolved. But their height, particularly the height of the peak of the roof, is not. And also, if you look at the overall footprint, and I think you can sort of see the comparison of height in C1, the streetscape, which is your second 11 by 17. So you can see that's already. It's a little bit taller in terms of the windows and the levels of floor. They don't have to be identical, that's fine. I think it's more the top of the peak, which is quite taller compared to the adjacent properties. And one of the conversations we had with the architect, and I would be happy to revisit with that, because we're not using that upper story.
Right.
There are no plans. So there are ways that we can mitigate to come with shallower slopes, so we can bring down the peak, so we don't have this huge mass on the street. That'll put it more in scale with the adjacent buildings. The other component is sort of more, because your floor plan has a lot of additional spaces, like with the courtyard, with a really large stair, and I understand how it's also more important just for the comfort and the use and the upper loft. It is also much deeper than the adjacent properties.
That was my concern.
And so the primary block, which I'm calling the one that's parallel to the street, that one is fine. But all this, and you have 3 blocks plus a deck. You have the primary, so when I talk about that, it's,
I understand.
yeah, and I'm just, yes, that's what I thought. So if I call this the primary block, which is your street facing, and then the way you have it, this I'll call your secondary block, because you can see you have 3 levels, level 1, level 2, in terms of feet, and level 3. But the line that you see right here is the line shows the mass of the house that's next to you.
Right.
So you're coming and being quite massive in terms of the scale and the proportion. Even if we look sort of on the other side, very few are. And I understand programmatically wanting to fit everything in there, but that is one of the challenges, that there's this discrepancy between how large you are compared to the adjacent home. So it's a question of volume and massing. I think the massing on the street, which is the primary view, we can work on that because there are ways to design it so that it actually brings down that peak and it fits more with the adjacent property. I think the massing of it is quite impressive. And I don't know, do you know what the overall square footage is?
It's a little over 2,000, and so, yeah, it's.
One of the things that she added was this courtyard,
Yes.
which is,
And that's why I said, like, by adding the courtyard, that means that if I may look here, let me, if we can. If you look at the floor plan, and if everybody's sort of following on the floor plan, which is the fourth page, drawing A1. You see, because you added the courtyard, that means that automatically it's expanding things out. And I can see, and it makes it worse because you do also have a fairly large garage, and also in terms of the design features, we're looking at carriage house. I think those design features are appropriate, but it means that you're actually having a depth. And you have a master bath, you have a powder room, which appears to have a shower in it too.
sorry now.
No, I know, if these things, well, these things have, but they also sometimes can be because, sometimes when you have the extra depth, then you're also needing to fill it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if your intention was to have a powder room with a shower and a master bath with a shower on your first floor.
That was the intention. This I could live without.
So this is where, if we can do things where we can actually bring back the massing so it's not as deep, not as heavy, and work on the slopes of the roofs and the peaks to bring them down, then you'll be more in scale. We're not saying match completely the scale of what's adjacent, because we understand through the gradient, but this, if you've seen on the street, and I think there's been this conversation more about the other one, that really follow that huge dormer. It is, and also you have the parking ring, it's a fairly narrow, and when you drive by, it's a beautiful spot. It's a narrow lot, and it's beautiful what you have looking to the back part. But I think you don't want to overwhelm what's next to you, and what's next to you is quite modest compared to other places. So those are the primary things.
So maybe if, for example, the courtyard
So
were,
I.
oh, I know.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down out of time.
Oh,
Oh, God.
Good.
me, I'm ready to give up the court.
Ah.
He wants to move in tomorrow.
Yeah, really.
And, I'm working for posterity. Couple of things. We are collectors to some degree. We have a lot of artwork, so that center hall is going to be a gallery, if you will.
And I'm an artist, that's why.
And so, I know, and I don't mean to say this disparagingly, just for illustration. I know we're turning our back on the neighbors with this house to some degree. When you look at the house in scale, we're 10 feet higher than the peak. Their peak comes to our eve. I don't see where dropping the roof pitch down is going to make any difference, because the eve is going to be at the same location.
But you can, when you read it, you can still bring it down. It's one thing to overwhelm something by saying.
I can
I'm
see
10
taking
feet.
it down by a third.
So that's why I said, working so that the proportions come down, so you can still be taller, but you cannot completely overwhelm them. And as it currently stands, it overwhelms it both in height and in depth and in mass. So we have to be cognizant of what's around. It doesn't mean that you have to go down to completely match, not necessarily, but at least stay within a proportion.
Let me jump in, and I don't have the pictures to put up on the wall and show you of the house on the other side of the parking lot. That goes very deep. Massive, just brick wall, looks like the Hoover Dam.
It's actually.
You do have a picture of it in here.
Yeah, it is.
I don't have the picture to present, but it's in there, yeah.
It's right here.
And
Yeah.
my God,
Yeah.
that's right across the parking lot. That dwarfs us. And so I don't think I think we're only one story on that lake that is perpendicular to the street. And it's we have a lot of roof, which is going massive, and I hate to give up. Well, and here's the point I'm trying to make, where the great room sits, is where the tree begins. And I like having the great room down in that location, overlooking the park. And the window views, because what happens to the master bedroom is the master bedroom is under their deck. And if we bring it back, the master bedroom is gonna be right looking at their wall of the wood frame house to the right. So I wanna get it deeper into the lot, so we have more views from the master bedroom as well as from the great room. If you bring us back in, we're gonna lose all of that, and my gosh, that's our hopes and dreams, are to have those views. We're not setting the house back from the street.
And that's,
If you would like us to do that, to
and that's
make it less
commendable
massive.
because you are
Right,
keeping the,
so to be bound by that means that if we want to be in both places, we're gonna be long.
so, I mean, you can be long, and there's what everybody wants to hope to achieve, for a dream, and it's what has to work within. One is what happens on one side, each application is
I
seems on
understand,
its own.
I understand.
And where you are, it's one of the few streets where you have this gradation going from Delaware Ave going down. And part of the history, part of the importance of Newcastle is the fact that there were so many, what we call workman homes, which is, it wasn't just people always think of, Newcastle House, and people think of the Reed House, but the fact that so much of it, and I know you appreciate it, which is great, and you've obviously gone through the effort of all the consultation and working with Cynthia. So I think if we can scale it, now you're telling me that the tree is here?
At the end of the great room. And the tree is gonna go, tree has to go.
Yeah, we've consulted with three people and the tree is at the end of its life,
So,
unfortunately.
yeah, And I was just asking, that's just because when you look at the pictures, people get a sense of the reference of, how far it's going in the lot as you compare it to the parking lot next door. So,
And I understand, I mean, the house is some 30 and change wide at the front, but it's 70 deep.
yes, and
It's very deep.
it's very deep, and that's not counting the deck.
Well, it's probably gonna be a patio. And I don't know if this is the right time to present about floodplain issues, and the house itself may end up standing taller because we intend to fill the lot if we can, as opposed to build on a crawl space. So we're hoping that base level comes roughly at street grade. But the first floor will be a couple of steps up from the street. And that burdens us if we want a 9-foot ceiling on the first floor. And then we have a second floor above that. I mean, the alternative would be to do away with the second floor, or another alternative would be to do away with the great room area and have it two stories, twice as deep with the.
I mean, the challenge that you're also having is if you were, and the goal of these meetings, I've always said, is not to get into architectural design, but have a conversation about potential options, which I'd be happy then to continue working with Cynthia a couple of times to come to place, is that your challenge is also you're pushing out the great room and the kitchen so far because you do have the garage or the shed. And you want to be able to have to look out to the side and not be looking at the side of your garage and your shed, but also, so some of them you have the windows of the kitchen, but then the great room has the windows further. And I think that's where your great room, at least the part that extends beyond the master bedroom, is about 14 feet.
Yes.
So there are, and you have the courtyard to your point, as you noted, that's about, I think, another 10 feet. So I think maybe the conversation is to see how we can talk about, I think we can work on the height of the volume because we can try to bring those down. I think we can work, at this point, you have 8-foot, I think 8-foot ceiling height on the second floor, 9-foot ceiling height on the first floor. So I think those are elements where you'd be surprised what a few inches here, 2 inches there, and working with construction can do. I do think on the deck, I would strongly recommend at least trying to make it more compact, not to align it, obviously, your neighbors are much. But I would say to revisit the floor plan to see if we can bring it in, get it a little bit tighter, and then see if that might work. Now, your garage is 20 feet deep, okay, 10 foot 6 by, so it's 20 feet, it's one box. The other option is, if you were to move the garage up ever so slightly, it's currently at 29 or 29 feet in the deck. So there are ways to be able to get almost a lot of all that you want to get, but trying to make it at a scale that's a little bit tighter. Because I am concerned that this is very, very massive. So if I were to say, I think the design hits really all the right target, and that's commendable about the materials. I can't tell you that the lighter frame people say with windows, and hardy plank is a whole conversation. I'll have that universe someday. So I think all the elements are there. I think if we can work on the scale, and that is, as an architect, I know it's achievable, particularly when you're working with somebody with the skill of the architect you're working with, and also right side window, because that would be the only thing that I think this concept should be revised for the massing and the height and the depth and the volume.
What is the flood? The thing that keeps staring at me is that the farther they go back, is there a lot of flooding going on there? Is that is right
We're
at that storm
paying
management?
tremendous attention, and we have engineers, we have people coming to do soil testing. We
Yeah.
are spending incredible amounts of time and money
For the,
trying to determine
Right,
what kind of foundation we can
Right.
have.
But the word she's not using that is sea level rise, so
Yeah,
by 2050, they're talking about 95% chance of likelihood of 2 feet above mean high water, which means a lot of the park is gonna be underwater at high tide. At 2100, we won't be here, but the house hopefully will be 5-foot rise, which would go over the top of the 2 dikes. So we're looking to build a house that will stand the test of time as much as the city has.
and I think
so
the city's very
so-
involved in,
yeah,
what
we have that
means
committee.
is-
They're doing a lot of work.
What that means is, we hope to bring Phil in, which again will challenge the neighbors to the west of us. Because their alternative is to raise their house or not. And if they don't, then we all know what that's gonna end up.
I've seen weird flooding over the years. I just wouldn't want your artwork to be affected by that. Yeah. Okay, cool.
When we build here, if we are gonna only build for the next 20 years.
And that's why the fact that on this house, you have like a raised entrance to the first floor of like,
Yeah.
yes, that, I understand why that's happening.
And so the deck and the crawl space that we see in the sections are illustrative if we don't raise. But we do intend to raise the grade by bringing the fill in, which we can keep the first floor on a slab. And we hope that that stays at around 9 feet, which is about the height of the parking lot. But because the street does slope as it goes west, it's gonna mean that we're gonna be, again, above the neighbors. And again, I hate to say it, but we're turning our back on them to some degree. We're saying we're getting ready for the next century, and we don't know if we're ready for the next century.
You intend to put a flower bed or a garden in the back where the shed is, or is it just gonna be?
Well, we have a
Yes, you
lawn,
are,
we're
yeah.
gonna have a lawn, we do hope to plant, and we're tree huggers, we'd like to
Yeah.
use native plantings. And
we're also into climate control, and we're very into the reproduction of chestnut trees. I don't know if you know anything about that with our climate control, but we have, we're kind of like, that. We're those kind of people.
Yeah, it may, by moving it, maybe, like coming back, it could be a little more usable space. You could have fun with that. If that's,
Oh, I
do
understand.
one thing up to do another,
I understand.
just a,
yes,
just Aaron thought.
yes.
I mean, this is definitely, this is a very large lot, right? I mean, it's 109 feet long. So your 25%, your 25-foot setback brings you to 84. And then, I mean, you're right up to your
Oh, yeah, there.
25. Yeah, you're right on the.
And that's not
setback.
counting the deck.
Well, 80, yeah,
Oh,
it
sorry,
does.
yeah.
84 does
Yeah,
count the
yeah,
deck.
yeah,
It's
sorry, you're right.
70.70 is the 70
No, you're right.
is the house, the 14. So
Yeah.
they're like, we're right at the 20, we're right at the footprint of the 25 too. I think, I mean, we all want a home that we can live in long-term here, so we can appreciate that. First floor master is wonderful, you can age in place and enjoy it. I think our biggest concern is the mass of the house compared to the others. And we do take this into consideration, and we have declined applications before where one house was gonna go out much further than the other. So we want to work with you so we can get you a home that you're going to, love and enjoy, and one that kind of fits the surroundings. So, the height, yeah, I mean, I could go here nor there with the height, in all honesty. Because we have approved things that have been taller than other homes, so that isn't as important to me. But the mass of the home, I think, is what, I'm trying
And I think
to
related to
justify.
that, just to add to your point, and just if that's gonna help. The fact is, when you do work on the height of the street elevation peak, because it's not usable space currently, then, and because they've done a good job about having gradations where it goes, and again, so all of that working together with bringing in tight will help attenuate the overall mass of.
Right.
So that's where that comes.
Oh,
that's
sure.
an important factor for them.
Right,
So that's one.
I was just gonna say, I know we're taking into account the house immediately to the west, but if we take account the house on the other side, that really is kind of a match, isn't it? It's not, it doesn't seem like that, it's that much more.
Question
Doesn't
of,
stand out.
well, it's a question of proximity. It's because when you're looking down that street, you're not just looking at the one house that's adjacent, you're sort of looking at the two houses that go down, and there's a volume that decreases on that side. That's one of the reasons why the house is across, the one that really jumps up. And Laura, I know we had this conversation, and I was like, it's too tall, we should right size it. It just kind of, you work with the strain of what's on it. The other house is on the other side of the parking lot, and it kind of works with it connected as you get closer to Delaware and, the center.
And that home too, I feel is a little bit more, this is a primary home coming down the street. You will be a primary home. Once you hit that intersection with the parking lot, your home will be the visual. So, so I think that mass does become somewhat important. But, just trying to, visualize, like, the other homes probably don't even come up to your master bedroom. Right? The home next to you, I forget which drawing it shows, where the other home.
Yeah, the master bedroom is in line with the deck.
Right, yeah,
We're
yeah,
beyond their house.
right. So their house comes to like your closet, let's say, right? So it's just thinking about, that extra spacing, because none of those homes probably have such an extension, right? All those homes in that row.
There is one that
There is
does.
one that
There is
does.
one that
Is
does.
it all the way on the end?
No,
It's in the middle and it's
It's in the middle, it's got a,
It's the
Oh,
one, it's the one that had been approved for
got
the,
a
The
room.
windows, I remember
it
that.
had been approved, yes.
And so that projects about as
Against-
steep as we do.
Against my recommendation, I must
But
say,
it,
but,
it was,
Okay,
it is in the neighborhood, and if we're running for election here, and we're two sides, I again, bring my voice in, and when you go down to the end of the street, on the left, you've got this
That enormous house,
cruise ship parked there on
the
the hill.
enormous house on the corner.
The three houses.
right,
that
on the
looks like-
park.
It's like three houses, but I believe it's just a single family home.
That's
So it's not that.
honestly, it
that there
doesn't
is
fit in.
Actually, it was there first.
Really? Well,
Well, that's the rebuild of it.
oh, really?
The original was
The
there.
original was there.
That is very
It's like a
interesting.
hotel,
Maybe we
but
could be
I'm
second.
not here to quibble with the board. I'm just here to.
Yeah, no,
and the approach here for us is, at least, and I'm not a voting member, but the approach here is to try to keep what makes Newcastle special. It's not just the materials of the building itself, it's a perception of a scale.
Absolutely.
And when you
I
go down
agree.
that street, there is
Oh, I
that, and-
know. we're
and
gonna
I-
be
and I
visible.
understand,
We're
but-
gonna be visible.
you're visible. Oh, you're
So I
visible.
think if we can tone it down, and my strong recommendation will work together, try to keep so many of the components, but scale it down so that you get what you want. But in terms of the volume and the impact, because this is one of the few where, and I think you put the pictures that really show you, when you look down the street, it's all about the section.
Yeah.
as we look at it.
Yeah.
And you want to try to maintain the section that's adjacent to you and work with that. So that's where I would come and, strongly recommend that we work together to be able to bring that to something that's a bit more in scale, not identical, not shrink it down completely. But, so this way we keep on having the character of the street, which is, we're sort of scaling down from Delaware as we're going down.
I see what you're saying exactly, but, what'll happen is actually the houses diagonally across the street from us will be bigger than we are.
And that's why each application is individually, and as we know, I'm thankful when my opinion, and sometimes things are approved, even though I don't recommend they be approved, but it cannot be erased to like, if they're gonna, because then the next person say, well, now they're two, so I'm gonna come and I'm gonna.
No,
And I understand it's all coming from a place of constructive conversation,
Yeah.
right? So, I think that's why it's quite important to the character of that part and that street, that at least and even if we tighten it, you still will be.
I don't really want to stick out. That's not my personality,
And,
and it's not my nature.
and with a house that has a setback, you will, but you will in a way that's not as obtrusive.
Right,
That's what I'm saying.
right.
Because you're not gonna be, we're not asking that you match your neighbors. So you definitely won't be, and those are more humble, just where they start even a little bit depth. But I think if we can meet in the middle,
Yeah.
I think what I would recommend is strongly working on that.
No, I don't disagree, and I do want to look like we've been here for a long time.
It's very important to me to live in a historic district. I mean, I come from history, and history of this country is really important. And this location is really important to me.
Oh.
So,
I'm always delighted.
Yeah, I mean,
to agree with you, Jean, to the choir, but yeah, then I, and I do appreciate.
I mean, the
that
thing that
Oh,
got us was we went into the Civil War Museum,
Mhm.
and they were having a
So the display.
display of my relatives.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
beautiful
I
connection.
think
so
that was
it
a
was like-
clue.
It's a beautiful connection.
Yeah.
That was a sign.
Yeah.
No, it was Percival Drayton, right?
Thomas and Percival.
Thomas and
Drayton.
Percival Drayton. And
Wow.
I'm Drayton,
Yeah.
and that's my history, and that history means a lot to me.
Sure. Oh, that's wonderful that you made that connection there. Yeah, I mean, I would say I had no problems with the front of the home. And it was just the mass, I would say. And that, and again, it's just from a perspective of a little bit of a shock compared to the guy next door, but I mean, over time, it will not be, it will be.
Yeah, we've heard from the neighbors, like from the people across the street, there's a small single family.
Yeah.
looking place, and we know who owns it, and we know why he doesn't sell it, because he doesn't want his mother
To,
be
yeah,
behind it,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So we understand what's going on, and we talk to people, and we respect what, they're doing, and they kind of, we've befriended these people, and we feel comfortable.
Oh, that's great. And look, you're building next to a parking lot.
I know.
If you only knew what we went through for that parking lot, you would understand that little comment. We appreciate that. Willing to do
Except now they're gonna, because of his big mouth, they're now gonna charge money to charge your cars there.
Oh, they already
Oh,
are.
they're doing that already.
That-
For a while, they
Justin
weren't
knows
charging.
that.
I think it was trial running it. and then-
I know, and then
Yeah.
Bill at this meeting, this community, meeting, Bill raises his hand and says, when I was asking people, they said they weren't having to pay anything to charge their cars.
Yeah,
And the mayor was like, what?
yeah.
And I
So
guess
now they do, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Justin?
Oh, no, it's fine. It should, absolutely.
Yeah.
We just sort of.
I think the parking lot's great, and I love the kids who skateboard. I have no problem.
Oh, that's
That was my next question.
Yeah.
You have no qualms. We love, great. We want somebody that's
Yeah.
gonna love that spot and
Oh, yeah.
and realize where they're at,
And
you
the
know?
design,
bother
the
me
de-
at
the
all.
design was improved at least in the park. So that at least helps some of the.
Oh,
people.
yeah.
So we'll relay these informations to Cynthia.
Yes, and if you would just please tell her that I'd be happy just to set up like we did last time, in the work session, and we can go through different iterations. And talk about the impact on the plan view, literally have a technical conversation
That's great.
amongst ourselves, so that, because she understands what you want in terms of space planning, and see how we can come together to make it happen, just within the scale, yeah.
I just have to get out of this rental that I'm in.
Well, with the supply chain issues, this may take a little bit longer, right, to do things, so. And so and the other thing too is possibly when we see this, you were talking about fill, so you may, that's why you were mentioning patio, right? Versus what we see here, if you fill it in,
Right.
that's what you were speaking, okay.
So what is our next step?
I think the
You're
next step,
to work back, I think Leila and your architect and you are going to kind of have another conversation.
and it can be, and I understand it's an iterative process, so we can talk, she can come back to you, I mean, if ever she and I having a work session, we would want to be part of it. That is absolutely not a problem, I can set up a team meeting, we can do that. If ever she's in town and you prefer to be, like locally here together in the same room, I'm more than happy to be able to do that too. If that, if that would help while we're having the meeting. I mean, other options is we can meet in my office and call her in, on the large screen TV, so we're in the same room talking about things. Sometimes that's easier just to sketch things out. But yeah, we would go back and forth and then we come to a plan that I really think I'd be comfortable. And what I'm hearing is the commission would be comfortable to address the scale issue, then I think would be in a good place to be able to move forward. At least when you go forth with the detailed drawings and all that, I can come and fully support the application, saying, this is kind of work for me.
Right, so I'm not sure if are we tabling or are we gonna approve for you to do the tier 1?
I think this is the level of how comfortable you are that we would be addressing and I would be addressing the overall massing and volume issue to your satisfaction.
So, Matt and Justin, do you have any other?
And the idea here is that if there weren't, then we could actually, once we came to me, we could do this tier 1, once you have all the permit drawings ready, as opposed to coming back to the commission. Now, I don't know when you anticipate having all your permit drawings, because
We haven't-
it's gonna be contingent upon approving the
I
content
think if
design.
we had a conditional approval, that it would spur us to get the rest of the package together for building permit.
Right.
Although we only have 2 or 3 weeks to get that together before we have to submit.
Well, the thing is, for now, we can't give a conditional approval because the primary condition is to revisit the larger parameters of the
Right,
architecture.
well,
So-
however you were gonna.
Yeah.
Further it, whatever you call it.
So I think that's where.
All right, so
I
I
would be
think,
comfortable, and based on the conversation we've had, I would be comfortable moving into a tier 1 based on Leila's consultation with the.
all right, but I'm gonna do 2 motions here. I'm gonna have us motion to approve the materials first, and then we can do the other as a separate, so. Just so I'm clear, so there's brick on the front, hardy board on the sides and the back, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
And wood windows.
and wood windows.
It's just, Anderson doesn't make wood windows, as far as I know. They make vinyl covered wood windows.
Yes.
And our rules absolutely say no vinyl showing.
Yeah,
right?
no, but, and when we talk about a window, we need a full wood window, not an
So
aluminum
it's not
clad window.
Not aluminum clad.
No,
Right,
because
Well, aluminum clad you could conceivably approve.
not on the primaries,
But,
no.
but
Or I could be.
vinyl is
overruled on
just,
that one.
well, we
Well
didn't do
done,
it
well
on the
done.
other one, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say.
No, they have to be, because the notion here is like, when you look at aluminum clad with windows, the reason people want them aluminum clad, they want them aluminum clad on the outside, because on the inside, obviously, where you see the closing them, they're wood. That's the same thing, the wood windows on the outside are very much a part of the significance. So when you look at wood windows, and thank you for pointing out, Anderson does not have full wood windows. I had thought it was just, I was saying, thought it was right too. Because I make a distinction between wood windows and clad windows. Clad window is not a wood window.
Okay, so, there are, I believe, 3 6 windows in the front elevation. No, 4 and 4.
There's 9.
So, can we have it so the windows in the front of the street are all wood? And the lot, the elevation, all the brick elevations are wood windows, and the hardy windows can be the wood clad windows?
I think the challenge with what you have, and again, it's everything is based on what's visible from the public right of way.
Right,
And your public right of way is
3 sides.
it's quite extensive. It's nice because as long as the parking's there, you won't have somebody, hugging you tight. But that is where we're the challenge. is.
So let me just understand too. So these are 6/6. What's going on these other windows? It's 6/1, or is that with the transom above it, right? So is that what the windows are actually gonna look like?
They look like 6/6, and then I'm not really sure in the courtyard what those windows are. The others either look like 6/1s, I
Yeah,
think in the back.
right.
Uh,
Well, those look like they have a little transom and then 6/1.
Yeah, and those, we have to kind of get into the weeds of the details of those, of those windows. what they look like.
Right, unfortunately, I think these are all going to have to be. I think they should be wood, but the other two commissioners can. maybe as well.
And I think one thing that is interesting in a lot of conversations, Cynthia, I don't know how readily available, but they are. We're gonna have a conversation sidebar about, syphilic wood, which is actually this treated wood that's kind of like a different creature, but actually performs really well. Keeps coatings really well, has a very low dimensional changing ratio, so actually they're very high performance. So that's something that we'll have a conversation. Obviously, you'll have to look at the cost and the availability, but I will have that kind of conversation.
So we'll just say brick on front, party board on the 3 sides.
Yeah, brick on the main block and the
Yeah.
side of the main block, and hardy board on the other elevations.
And then we're saying wood windows, and all I'm saying is no aluminum clad.
Yeah.
Now, you will decide the 6/6, like, are you gonna decide are you approving the 6/6s?
Yeah, I mean, 6/6s are classic. I mean, the only one that seems to be a little bit strange is the 6, and even, 6/1s happen. They're more recent kind of in terms of like the time period, but this clearly has 2 different time periods of having. I think the one that I'm wondering about, but that's the one that's in the back of the courtyard, so that one is not as visible because it'll be covered halfway by the garage.
So we're okay with 6/6s and 6/1s. Just want to make sure we clear it all.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna make that motion, so I'll make the motion. So the motion is to approve the materials for the project, which is all brick on the main block, hardy board on the 3 sides past the main block, and wood windows, specifically no aluminum clad, and we're okay with 6/6s and 6/1s. So can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, then we're gonna do a motion to approve. So I think what we're looking at is that. So Leila, you're gonna work with the architect. And the applicant.
Have to reduce the scale on the massing.
And then. once all agreed, that can be a tier 1 approval. So I'll make this motion too. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve project not as presented, but with this parameter that Leila will work with the architect and the applicant to reduce the to reduce the scale/massing of the overall project. Once all agreed, this can move forward to a tier 1 approval. Second on that,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Now, I guess when I said overall project, to me, that was the house. What about this garage? What are we doing about the garage?
The garage is also Hardy Plank, I believe. And there's a siding all around. The brick in the front, yeah, and the, one question.
Is it gonna be an asphalt driveway?
No.
Yellow.
Well, we don't,
Thank you.
You
and,
got
and,
that answer.
I do.
and we will need that information on the plans.
Yeah, not if I can help it.
Okay.
Yeah, you said, say brick, is it?
I don't like anything
It's
that
a brick here.
water can't get through.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, on the garage, it was brick in the front, right, and then hardy board.
I'm not sure I see the front materials. No, it's showing cementitious on the front too.
There's not much fun.
Well, I mean, it's because there's a door.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say this, I don't think a garage necessarily need to have a brick on the front.
Right.
And it would only be like wood plank.
We were actually hoping to have the driveway be brick.
That.
Well,
and that'd be nice.
then you can get out. Yes, that would be very nice.
Herringbone pattern.
All right,
Herringbone
so
pattern.
the garage, just so we put that as a separate, is gonna be hardy board, is that what we're saying?
Mhm.
Okay. And what about, and the driveway? I mean, I just wanna make sure we're very clear on this driveway. What material were they thinking for the driveway? They don't want to do, right?
Well, they did mention they would look, I mean.
Just, can we say non-asphalt? no
Yeah.
Well, it's not, because I
asphalt?
mean, the other thing is what you can also do is not, you can also do grass with like 2 sort of brick strips. to be
Yeah,
able to-
we're just gonna say no asphalt.
No,
Yeah, no
asphalt.
asphalt.
No, I don't want to.
No asphalt, no,
Yeah. Right,
some porous material.
You have me on that.
right, thank
So
you.
some permeable material, absolutely.
We've never, in all of our houses that we've ever owned, we've never had an asphalt driveway. We haven't, we've always had grass.
Well, that parking lot wasn't supposed to be asphalt, but that's no.
Oh, yes, that was quite a.
Supposed to be concrete and pavers. All right, so for the garage, I'm gonna make a motion that the garage, we're approving with hardy board. And just that the driveway will be some permeable material.
Yes.
And what is the garage door going to be? Are we also going with wood? Okay. Yes, I have with a wood door, at least on the street side.
Now, there's a big house at the end of the street. it's
Yes.
The world's best garage door.
Yes,
It must
I've
be
seen
because it costs more.
Well, nowadays, I've been reading articles that houses can't even get finished because garage doors aren't available.
And windows too. People are having trouble getting windows. Okay, so the garage is going to be hardy board, a wood door. The garage door is wood. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So what about the side door? Are the side, are all the doors wood?
Well, the main door is wood, correct? Primary door is wood. A lot of the secondary doors aren't really visible because, well, they actually, yes. Yeah, we should definitely talk about wood windows, wood doors.
Okay, so I'm gonna amend the first motion first. So going back to material, so it's brick on the main block, hardy board on 3 sides. Wood windows, no aluminum clad, 606 and 601, and then the doors are wood. That's the amendment. Anything else we need to before I?
With anything else, there are things like fences, if they would do that, classic materials that are.
So can someone just second the amendment with adding the doors for the wood?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so let's go back to the garage. All right, so the garage is gonna be a wood door, hardy board, and the driveway is gonna be some permeable material. Can I have a second on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else we need to, or is that good? All right, fantastic. So by doing the second motion to approve your project though with additional consultation, it gets you moving through the process a little bit faster, or else you'd have to wait for our next meeting. So we're just trying to get you through the process a little faster, so you don't have to wait an additional 4 weeks before we have another meeting. Yeah. So, so that gives you an opportunity to work with Layla and then gives her the kind of final improvement. So you can move forward thereafter. No, you're welcome. Well, thank you.
At some point, yeah.
And we wish you well. And we look forward to the project as it progresses.
Double check the business card.
All right, and then
I think I left it all in
While we're- I go there,
my coat.
there is an enforcement action. I thought you might catch it.
what?
Someone started putting free cameras
Really?
with PVC trim.
Really?
So we're,
So people-
it got deadly serious in a big hurry, so we denied the permit though.
We'll
And
email,
their
we'll call.
consultant that helps them with permitting.
Yes.
And if you think what we're
Tennessee.
talking about, the
Oh, there
volumes
they
of the
can find,
flow,
I
if
guess,
you think
we
it would
did
be
this
more
better.
important that you would like.
Ah.
to use
So
it,
they're
we
going
can
out,
talk about
they
it.
said they would
I
have the
can always
order
make
for
it
the new
come,
window.
or I can do
Tell me about the new window
Or-
order.
come to my office, I can
Well,
have a
they
large.
said they can get it in today, but
Get
they're gonna be
Bonnie's house,
optimistic.
then we can look at the plans together and just have a.
I didn't want you
If you think that's
to
what-
freak out, they're ripping those.
Okay. Well, we do have to have a conversation about that other one because
I can imagine.
Would you like to visit a couple houses?
Nice to see you. Nice to see
All right.
you. Nice to meet you. Good luck. And I assume I've got your permission to talk
did
to
everyone see the
your
last minute? All
engineer,
right, let's just-
because that's a big deal.
There was a last minute addition to the agenda.
But
It's all
you're all
Jeff's
set.
fault.
Thank you.
I wasn't very happy, so he didn't get a nice
How about-
email back from me, but so this is,
This
they
is-
wanted to put a removable canopy.
Yeah, the guy came in with a permit to build a 12 or 14-foot tall fence. No, done. So kind of back there, next to that screen porch you can see on the neighboring house. He doesn't like it. Anyway, so, he can put up a trellis if he wants, but that's about it. Then on that little porch right there, he wants to put this widget, which is metal frame that has a sort of an awning that switches up,
Yeah.
goes back, you saw the picture. And I really wasn't sure whether, I wouldn't make him get a permit for a patio umbrella. And I just,
It is like a, so, and is it, the idea that he's gonna put it right here in the back?
right
Well, I'm
right
not going
there,
right here, like, as you can see, like right here?
no, not at all.
Yeah, that's how I'm wondering where
We
he's
show,
putting it.
I just took these pictures this afternoon. To show that this is the front of the house,
Okay.
this is the walk, that's the front of his house, this is the little walkway. And right there,
So that's
got
where he
this
wants to
little,
put it.
got a little patio right there. He wants to be able to go out there when.
Yeah.
That's not really.
Look
us,
up the
though,
Barbie,
is it?
right?
Oh, that's the front of the, you'll see
That's
that
the-
from the
you
front of the
will
house.
see it
You
from the
will
front of the
see
house.
it from the front of the
And
house.
so you can understand my trepidation.
Yes.
So that's why I wanted you guys to take a look at it and let you know.
This thing's gonna be bolted into the ground, right? It's not this.
I
It's
don't-
not freestanding.
Well, the damn thing just sits there. He could bolt it if he wanted to, but it could just sit there. It's sort of a metal frame, square metal tubing. And then the
To your
little,
point, you could put an umbrella in.
he could put an umbrella in, and that's why I'm here,
Yeah.
but you can see it from the front.
Oh, you
usually
can
that-
see that,
You can
yeah.
really see it. Yeah,
So-
I thought the other picture, when I looked at that picture.
Yeah,
I
because
was like,
what,
put it in
then I
back.
see the screen and porch in the back. I'm like, wait a second. Yeah, when, this is his steps to his side yard.
Right, the side here, so I took those two pictures.
Did he get this fence approved in the front? Because he just put that up.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Oh, just for my education here, if it was portable and you could put it up and take it down, you wouldn't need a cabin approval, right? But he's intends to
I
make
don't
sure.
know, I'm here. I
Yeah,
don't-
'cause they're-
Well, you know what
Nobody
they
ever
say
did
they're
this
gonna
before.
take it down.
Right.
You know, they're gonna put it up and it'll never come down.
And
Just
there
like
is,
normal.
At the end of the season.
Yeah,
and there are things for like furnishing, that have to be done a certain way if they're visible from the way. And I mean, it's like if somebody said, well, I'm putting it, it's my front door and I'm actually gonna put like a big umbrella.
Yeah, there's no way he's taking this thing up and down. Once it's
I
up,
don't
it's
think
up.
so, but it, I don't know, you could, you know, a few stout fellows could just pick it up and carry it away.
I mean, the way it looks there, you'd have a gust of wind and it would
Yeah,
start hitting. the
blow
window.
away.
No, the wind's not gonna blow this thing, there's nothing up for sale. I mean, it's,
If it's.
if
a
he
winter
uses this
cover-
one, he said he'd build it out of wood or whatever you wanted, but it
Yeah,
wasn't gonna be attached to the house.
And he is calling it semi-permanent. If you're semi-permanent, then you're an addition that's being installed there.
Oh, I mean, you could tell him that this would not, this isn't a starting
I
point.
told him flat out, no, full
Yeah.
stop on the fence.
Yeah.
Right, this one, I'm going, well, could I tell him he couldn't put an umbrella there? I don't think so.
But this is more than an umbrella.
This is much better
Which
than
is
an
why
umbrella.
he even wrote it when he wrote semi-permanent in the application. He's like,
He just talks too much, maybe, I don't know. Who knows? A lot of this is.
So you can just tell him no.
Yeah, but before I did a twofer on that, I just wanted to make sure you guys agreed with me.
Yeah, no, but that, I mean, if it was wood, you know, different story, but that,
Well, that's his plan B, that he'll build anything you want, he just wants to get some shade out of there.
and it's also pretty big. Like, it's-
Well, there's
that patio's not that. I mean,
that's
it's
not a
that
very
big.
big patio.
No.
No, it's not a big patio, but I'm saying the structure here is 9 by 12.
That's as big as the patio is.
Yeah, it's like.
And he
it's
wants to
covering
have
the
his
whole thing.
chair. he
Yeah,
wants
he's
to
covering
sit-
the whole, this whole
Yeah,
He wants to,
area.
and I can't imagine how much sun he's got there, because.
It's tucked in the back.
Yeah.
It's more like the
You
rain.
Tell him he can come back to us with a nice wood pergola. We'll consider it. Tell him no, Jeff, you're good at it.
No.
Let's practice.
50%
No.
easier than saying yes. There's only two of it.
All right, so that's, is anything further from us on that, or you?
No,
Yeah,
I
we don't have
did-
to vote on it or anything. do
No,
we?
it's just, I wanted,
Okay,
sometimes I feel like I'm out there alone in the wind.
Well, all right, well, we'll close the meeting, and then I have several questions about some projects, so you're lucky I didn't catch those windows, but, all right, all right, so old business, Marika, you can just take these things off. Okay. For the future, thank you.
Laura, sorry. Introduce Planning Commission representative, just to ask if there needs to be any design concerns about the remaining installed car chargers.
Well, we have given multiple input,
Okay, that's what we wanted to
but
know.
no one's listening, in all honesty.
I mean, my understanding at the last meeting was, city council decided it's like a done deal, so that's where.
Yeah.
where-
I mean, I think they're gonna put some of the locations we had talked about were ones,
Mhm.
like behind the library was a conversation. We said that one was okay because it was kind of sheltered.
Right.
I don't know where they're thinking about,
What the, one like it 14 at the River Plaza that.
they're putting them at the
That's
river. I
still
wasn't
out.
sure, that's out of our district. We talked at the tennis courts, we talked to them about tennis courts, and then they were talking about kind of near the South Club, but I mean, to take away parking, I don't know, I didn't think it was a good idea down by the South Club to
Yeah.
take away parking.
Right.
For,
You're still coming up.
I am.
Is that, that's a conflict, right?
No, but I mean, you know how crowded it is.
I know,
down
formed
there.
opinion.
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
No.
it's just so crowded down there anyway.
You guys
I
gonna
just-
be out there all weekend? With Haley, members of the Seven Club? We
What?
closed the walkway down by Army Creek. Big hole, straight down to a hole on top of one of the 4-foot pipes that goes through.
Really?
And so I had them barricade the heck out of it today, and so you guys know, it's the same. We put up some barricades, and the little biggers were going around it, and there's a hole 12 feet deep to the middle of a pipe, 4-foot pipe, and it's all jagged metal, and I go, no,
Yeah.
Where is it?
right over Army Creek,
Oh,
right near where they're gonna have their little ceremony to put up that
oh, the sign, that,
the sign.
yeah,
So, I'm sorry, but we got it done today, so that's.
oh my God. All right, so we are taking off old business. There's no new business, so,
I do have an update. We-
oh, for the,
The CLG grant application.
Yeah.
So we did put in a grant application and, asking for the full available amount, so the total will be about 14.7, and it's going to be to develop two instructional videos or one long extended video to talk about the process, the national, the historic district, and develop that with input. I mean, the only thing was, since it is with matching funds, it will be contingent upon the matching fund portion
Right.
being approved in the upcoming city budget. So we requested
Okay.
like 8,800, and then the city match would be 40% match that.
Okay,
So
great.
it's not a huge grant, but at least that'll also help. It's building on all the small, how we use the grants each time to make things.
Did you say 14,700
14,700 is the total amount. No,
14,000?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
okay.
we're asking, the city's
pretty
asking for $8,800.
Yeah, got it.
And we'll match it if city council approves the budget, approves the line items of the matching grants, so the
Okay.
matching funds.
That's great. All right, thank you. That's wonderful. And also, Mark Chomp his term is up and he did not renew. So, the city council, I guess, will be appointing another commissioner. So I will talk. So that's all for that. All right. So we can adjourn the meeting at 7:35.
Does this board have any public comment time?
Usually only if it's related to an application.
Okay.
Okay, so we will see everyone next month. Jeff, I have a few questions.
I'm right here. Every meeting that you're.
And Layla, she knows what I'm gonna ask. So the house across the street, the carriage house, everything's kosher with that thing.